Another challenge for the Green Hornet, his aide Kato, and their rolling arsenal, the Black Beauty. And now, to protect the rights and lives of decent citizens, rides the Green Hornet.
Welcome back, citizens, to an all-new episode of the Hornet Sting podcast. It's the owner-publisher of the Daily Sentinel, John S. Drew here, and as we continue getting closer and closer to the end of the one season of the 1966-67 Green Hornet series, I'm joined in this journey by the District Attorney himself, Mr. Jim Beard. Hey, Jim.
Hey, I'm ready to place my bet on this one.
Right off the bat,
saw what I did there, huh?
I saw what you did. Right off the bat, this title is even just a little odd.
It's odd. I love the title,
yes,
but it is odd. And we've had titles like this before that don't exactly make sense to what goes on in the episode. But I love it because it's before you watch the episode, if you hear the title, it's very intriguing. I give the screenwriters credit for the title. It's very pulpy, otherwise. So yeah, not completely lining up.
No. The title of the episode is called Bad Bet on a 459 Silent. It aired February 10th, 1967. Our writers are Judith and Robert Guy Barrows, and our director is Seymour Robbie. And Jim, once again, we're opening with the Hornet right in the thick of the action.
Yeah, they've learned by this point, skip any sort of preamble to it, just get it started. The best thing to do is to have our guys in the car at night going somewhere to do something that they've already been in the middle of, and we have to catch up with them. So this is really, I think, the best way to start an episode.
Speaking of which, Batman only did that once with the Penguin, the three-parter.
Yeah, right. Very good point.
And maybe it might have done Batman some good to have had some episodes where he was right in the thick of it.
Well, in the third season, yeah. Yeah, maybe.
So they're listening to the police frequency. They hear the call coming in about the 459 silent. It took me a few minutes to figure out they meant silent alarm.
Yeah, it's the same with me. We're dealing with older ways of describing things, I guess. But it ramps up very quickly, which is what I really like about this episode.
Yeah.
Things get serious and personal very quickly.
Yeah, very serious, very personal. There are two cops who arrive on the scene first, and they're not investigating. They're instead taking from what's left over in the safe.
Yeah. Bad cops is a cliche. In this sort of fiction, absolutely nothing new at all. But that really kind of takes a back seat to the main thing that goes on here, which is our hero takes a bullet.
Yeah, because when he shows up, one of the dirty cops. No, actually, it's not the dirty cop. That's the thing. They get away. That's right.
Yeah. It's a proper cop that wings the Hornet. I love this little bit where they're calling it in. And the guy on the other end of the line, says, "Are you sure?" And the other cop says, "Yes, it's a positive identification." I had to make a note of that because it's like, A, it's dark. B, it's the Green Hornet. Like, you wouldn't know the Green Hornet if he stood in a police lineup. Yeah, I love this, because he says just without reserve, it's a positive identification that it was the Green Hornet. It wasn't anybody dressed up like the Green Hornet. Nope. It was the Green Hornet.
Well, I guess maybe because he's got the car. Although we've proven you can get a car easily in the last couple of episodes.
What you talking about, Willis? Yeah. But it's this funny thing about the city that we visit for this show is that they know the Green Hornet, even though he's a notorious criminal, and really nobody should really much, So I don't know. Maybe at this point, Britt is allowing himself to be seen as the Hornet a little too much. If a cop can be absolutely 100% sure in his identification. Of the Green Hornet, I felt like the other guy should have said, how can you be sure about that? Well, he had that little scar on his chin, that one that we were, we went over in that police discussion the other day. Nope. Just saw a hat and a mask and the car, and it is the Green Hornet.
Yeah. By the way, did you notice the building that the robbery took place in, the exterior?
No, what was it?
That was in several episodes of Batman, including the Black Widow episode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to go back and watch that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I did like the whole thing about the bad cop coming back. Hey, anything I can do to help?
Right. My interest zoomed right to a really interesting scene with Kato trying to take care of Britt. Again, we rarely get this personal. The Hornet and his stories rarely mesh up so much that it becomes so personal for Britt. But he's taken a bullet. He's in a world of trouble because he cannot go to the hospital as Britt Reed, and he can't go to the hospital as the Green Hornet. And there's a really interesting thing where Kato is got this anger / frustration thing going on. Because he's telling Britt, you have to go to the hospital, and Britt's just like, no way.
Yeah.
And I made a note of this funny line. He goes, "It's not like this in the westerns." Well, to me, that was almost a nod to his famous ancestor.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to think that that's what that was. Other than there were still westerns on TV at that time, but I really love that. And I know you caught this, of course. This is fascinating. This was a setup for the Seth Rogen Green Hornet film.
Do you know it's been a while since I've seen it? How?
Yep.
Is this the setup?
This is the whole setup. They use this at the end of the Seth Rogen film. Britt has been shot as the Hornet. He cannot show up as Britt with the wound in the same place. People might draw the conclusions. And they set up a thing where he is speaking in public, and Kato pulls up in the car, shoots blanks at him. He pretends to be shot, and therefore Britt has a perfectly good excuse for having a bullet in his shoulder. It's the exact same setup. Wow. It is utterly fascinating that they borrowed for that big, feature film. They borrowed this from this episode. Makes me wonder. It's like, did the screenwriters literally watch every episode of the 60s TV series? Who knew that or who remembered that? It's clever. I don't know if it would work in the real world, but it's very, very clever. I have to laugh though when Kato walks into the into the newsroom.
Yeah.
I mean, it worked out better in the film because all he did was pull up in a car, pretend to shoot Britt out in public, and quickly drive away. Here we have Kato having to go how many floors up in the building? I don't know if it's ever. Maybe in the Jaguar episode, it might, or Leopard or whatever that was episode, one of my favorites still. Maybe it said what floor they were on in that one. But I love it because they're taking a huge chance. I mean, he's Kato, I get that. But he, to walk into the middle of all those people and then talk.
Yeah.
With a fairly heavily accented, Asian accent. He's clearly, and nobody twigs to the idea that's, Kato. Oh, who's, Britt Reed's a valet. But it's in good fun. I really love it. Seeing Kato use a gun is also fascinating here. And again, that it has this another layer to it that it was borrowed whole cloth for the Seth Rogen film.
Now, let me ask you this, and I'll put it out there as well to our listeners, because now you got me thinking then, if that's the case, maybe we should touch on the Green Hornet movie to cap things off when we're done here.
Oh no! Does that mean you're going to make me watch it again? This has come up before. I'm pretty sure that, and I'm not totally down on that movie like a lot of people are.
Me either.
I question the idea that they were going so overly comedic with it, but it does have some moments. Kato's pretty good in it. Again, it has some moments in it. It's not entirely bad. It's just kind of a questionable way to deliver it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I did like about the whole scene in the city room, though, even though you say, yeah, it's sort of like nobody twigs on to him being Kato with his speaking, is he gets to speak.
Yes, I know, right? Oh, that's sad.
I know, but I get excited. It's like any chance, there he is arguing with Britt in the car. Then later on, he's in the city room. And there's just other little moments he gets to shine in this episode. They're moments, but they're there.
Yeah. Well, I go back to the scene with him trying to take care of Britt. It shows another side of Kato, his devotion to Britt, his concern for Britt, which leads to, again, anger / frustration that he can't do anything. He cannot do anything for Britt. They're in a bad situation until they figure out this way to get out of it. And it works like a charm. There's no problem with it. And Britt ends up in the hospital. He's operated on by a doctor who may look familiar to some people. Was he familiar to you?
He may look familiar, and he may sound familiar.
Love it. Good one. So do we tell them? Or
sure. Go ahead.
Okay, make him look it up. You're on the internet. Look it up.
Jason Wingreen.
Jason Wingreen, from All in the Family. I guess that's a good place to start right there, among many other things, but All in the Family. But weirdly enough, this is Boba Fett.
Yeah.
From The Empire Strikes Back.
Lord Vader, you may take Captain Solo to Jabba the Hutt after I have Skywalker.
He's no good to me dead.
He will not be permanently damaged.
I had to be reminded of that one, that many years later, for 1979, 1980, that he does the voice of Boba Fett, and then he gets fired from that job basically for the special edition when they record over him with Tamura Morrison's voice to make it line up with the prequels. Poor Jason.
Yeah. He died only 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yes, I saw that. He's one of those guys where as soon as I saw him, I said, wait, who is that? It's another plus for the Green Hornet show, and also a detraction that they have these really good players, but they all get the tiniest of roles. Mm-hmm. Like, personally, I would have wanted to see more of the Doctor. Is it odd at all to him? Just more. He's kind of forgotten.
Yes.
After a while. One of the other things that it didn't disturb me so much, but I think it's another missed opportunity. I like this episode. If you haven't gleaned that yet, I like this episode. It does have some of the common problems that many of the Green Hornet episodes have, but for me, it didn't overshadow the underlying coolness of it. And it's Britt is in the hospital, and Casey comes to see him. She brings some work for him. It seems to me that Casey is not aware of anything that's going on. And I wrote a note to myself, why wasn't Casey told? Now, I don't know, did you get that feeling that she had no idea that the Green Hornet was shot, and that when Britt is shot, it's fake?
Was she in the city room when he got shot?
Yes,
okay.
I believe so. I think it's just so quick, or you don't really see her much, or whatever. It's another wasted thing here. When she comes to see Britt, it's kind of cold. He calls her Miss Case, twice, at least once, if not twice. It could have been a better, more, I'll go so far as to say intimate moment.
Right.
Maybe I'm reading too much into it. I've said it before. I wish there was a little bit more hints of attraction between the two. I realize that they're employer and employee, but she does share the secret. I could only help but wonder if she didn't know what was going on and finds out later, does she get mad? Why didn't you let me in on it? I could help. He's probably going to say something like, an honest reaction out of you would have gone over better with the crowd, with the people around us than if you had known about it, which is also insulting to her that's saying like, Casey, you can't act. Yeah. you can't act your way out of a paper bag, so I'm not going to tell you. But I don't know. I wish, she would have come in and maybe shown a little more concern. She, could have placed her hand on his arm, just any little sign of a little bit more of her concern for him. But he's fairly cold to her. It's again, Wendy, she should have more to do, I guess.
Well, it's funny because one of the notes I have for the very next episode, we don't even see her until the very end of the episode.
Yeah, I made that same note. That's terrible.
Yeah.
Let's hold off on that one. I'm gonna start crying, but yeah, it's sad. We've seen it how many times before? When you pack a half hour with stuff, something's got to go, or it explodes, right? Right.
But see, the thing is, this is where we're getting to this point now where it's like Casey, unless you sort of write her more in as a player in this story, she's a utility. She's there to move the plot along. She comes in with the work. She's got the front page thing, and it's all setting up Mike, who because he's got to go do his bumbling act.
Yeah, I can only help but think that if they had gone to season 2, that Wendy would have demanded more to do.
Yeah,
they kept the setup from the radio drama. With Miss Case being in on the whole thing. If I was watching this show for the first time in the 60s and I wasn't familiar with the TV show, I might wonder why they chose to have Casey be in on the secret. Because she rarely has anything to do with that whatsoever. So again, another little, sad moment. I still like the whole thing with Britt being wounded and he's, cliche, but you have to stay in that bed because if you start moving around, you're going to open up that wound and so what? Well, you're going to bleed to death. So what does he do? He gets out of bed. Because he's not only that, he goes out as the Green Hornet again.
He goes out as the Green Hornet because he's got to do this whole thing where, because he sees Mike has set up this thing to catch the crooks, unaware, as we also learn now, if we didn't figure it out, they're rogue cops because, well, he knows it now because of a button that the younger of the two left behind at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
Nice little touch. I did like that.
Very, very much so. Brings Mike into it. Mike is nearly as bad as Casey is, just sometimes being a person to stand around.
Yeah.
Good use of him here. We do get the ubiquitous warehouse scene.
Yeah.
With the trope of large boxes standing around to have people thrown into them or to be pushed around and things like that. Hey, here I got a question for you. Why doesn't he use the Hornet sting in the warehouse?
I've got an even better question for you. Because before they even go into the warehouse, and this is what got me, Kato says, I'll go in alone, you're hurt. And Hornet's like, oh no, there are 2 of them with guns. And I'm like, so what? He's Kato.
He's Kato. Yeah, I don't have an answer for that one. Or unless you answer mine. Why doesn't he use the sting in the warehouse?
I don't
Why does
know.
it seem like some of the script writers know that this Hornet sting exists and some haven't been told? Like, isn't that in the show Bible?
Yeah. But we didn't get a whole exit scene with him going Hornet Sting check.
So he can't use it until we have a thing where he checks the Hornet Sting. I like the Hornet Sting, so it's like you use it, you know.
Well, it certainly would have saved him a lot of trouble, because maybe if he took the older cop out, I mean, yeah, he does knock him out, and then Mike gets a punch in.
Oh, thank you. Wait, is this the first time that Mike actually landed a punch on the Green Hornet?
Yes.
It is, isn't it? Somebody somewhere said, we need to have Mike do something physical, lad. I love that. Wait, I love this. Not only does he punch him, but he gets to shoot at him, too.
Yep.
He picks up the cop's gun and shoots at the Green Hornet.
Yeah.
Now, if he had hit the Green Hornet and possibly even killed the Green Hornet, I wonder would he have been arrested, or would he have been hailed as a hero? I don't know, but that he's so obsessed with bringing in the Hornet that he's actually going to pick up a cop's fallen gun and shoot him or shoot at him. And for a split second there, I thought, wouldn't that have been funny if the Green Hornet got hit a second time?
Yeah.
And he gets a bullet and then he's going to go, oh, I don't think we can have Britt Reed be shot at again by Kato. It's an interesting moment. Not a bad moment, just very interesting.
No, but he manages to get away, and we come to the end of the episode because the cops are caught and such. Now, as we're coming to the end of this, is there anything in this episode that we missed?
Yeah, I got one thing I want to mention.
Okay.
Mike, a little bit of dialogue at the end. Mike's cantankerous as always, and he says something like a crime fighter, like your old man was. If you listen to the dialogue, he is not talking about his father being a crusading publisher, or at least that's not how I interpret it. Now, I'm not saying that his father was the Green Hornet, but it is an odd way to say it. He says, why can't you be more of a crime fighter like your old man was? It's a fun line because it works on a couple different levels. It would be fun if Britt's father was a Golden Age Green Hornet, although there's no mention of it. There's a mystery about his father, which we never, ever get anything more about.
Right.
Again, the way it's worded, to me, he's not just saying that a crime fighter in the sense of being a crusading publisher, but there might be something more. And I'm not exactly suggesting that, his dad put on a mask and, went out. But was there something... was there an incident where he did bring in some criminals with beyond just writing an expose on them, an editorial? I don't know, but it's a really interesting line, and I mean enough for me to make a note of that. So it's another one of these little hints about Britt's father that I really love and wish they could have expanded on.
It would explain one thing as to why Britt maybe thought, okay, I'm going to go down that same path, but this is a tougher time, a tougher crowd of people. I need to get in there from the inside. I can't be just this, swashbuckling crime fighter. I got to get in among them, and they'll fear me more as, one of them.
Right. Without having a Golden Age Green Hornet who did the same thing, was a criminal and everything, there has to be a reason that Britt came across that idea. We know his father in this show was it framed?
Yes.
Yeah, he was framed for something. Did his father go to prison? Was his father considered a criminal at one point? Is that something that gave Britt the idea to fall on the criminal side as far as the Green Hornet's role, or proposed role in society? I don't know. I love all of these thoughts. We're reading way more into it than anybody back then probably read into it. But if you could get a hold of somebody who was within the making of this show and say, were you ever going to do anything more about Britt's father? Was that something that you thought was always, got the future to do that? Was there a plan? Was that going to be in the second season? Or you know what? John, have you ever seen the Bible for this show?
No.
It makes me wonder if it's in the Bible. That the entry for Brit. I'm going to throw this out to our 1, 2, 3 listeners that we have out there. If you have the Bible for the Green Hornet show, the book that basically all the screenwriters and everybody had, that surely had to exist for this. There was one for Batman, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as I know, yeah.
As far as I know, which I've never seen before. I can't believe that there wouldn't have been something to tell people how this show works. That show especially, how that works, But there had to have been something, unless they just purely relied on Trendle for that. But that might also explain why you get screenwriters or scriptwriters who don't ever use the Green Hornet's arsenal. They might have the Black Beauty fire missiles, but again, this is really weird. No sting and no gas gun when he could have really used them. Yeah. So it's interesting.
Well, there's one thing, I don't know. I've got to try and see how I can manage it someday. I forget if it's the University of Wisconsin or I can't remember now for the life of me. Tim Young and his brother Paul do a Batman 66 podcast called To the Bat Poles. And Tim is in Japan, but he came back to America recently to go and see William Dozier's papers that are all at this university. And
wow.
These things have like all the call sheets, every script, including some scripts that were never produced
for
Batman. But I'm wondering if there's material. Really? Yeah, I'm wondering if there's material for the Green Hornet.
Well, I can't get past these unproduced scripts.
There's a handful of them or something. He's mentioned it on the podcast a couple of times. Yeah, I'm lax in my Batman 66 fandom. I don't think I've heard this before. Or if it is, I've maybe heard it more as a rumor than anything. Right.
Huh? For what season? 4th season?
I don't know if it was a proposed 4th or if this was stuff they just never got around to in the 3 seasons.
I mean, we know very well that Harlan Ellison wrote a treatment or a plot synopsis, but it wasn't a script.
Yeah.
Very interesting. That has to be shared with the world.
Well, I know Tim will be revealing what he's found on the podcast as well, because he even took some pictures of the archive boxes, which also, tugged at my heartstrings because one of my first jobs was working for the archives collection at New York Public Library, and seeing that, and as he's pulling out the script for that darn Catwoman, I think it was. But I know he mentioned, and I think I saw it because I think you can get a listing of some of the materials. There's a Christmas episode of Batman.
What?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you mean other than the one with Santa Claus?
Right. Exactly.
Huh.
Set at Christmas.
This may fall into the whole legal swamp that stuff can't be released because of the wrangling.
In terms of?
That it may have been out from Dozier's offices, but the characters are owned by DC. Right. All that same stuff. And that as far as I know, Dozier's daughter is still involved in legal things.
Right.
So it could literally be. At this moment, I just want to know what they are. And who the villains were for that matter. For that matter,
yeah.
Yeah. Well, like hey, we ought to someday we ought to do a Green Hornet podcast.
Well, I someday I want to take a trip to this.
Yeah.
This collection and just
Let's
spend
go.
a week.
Let's go.
Days and days just sitting there going through boxes
you tell me, and I'm there.
Yeah. I'm thinking, if nothing else, there's that book that nobody will buy anyway of the whole production and history of Batman. Well, let's get back to this though. Let's get to our rating.
So, was it a bad bet?
Was it a bad? That's the thing. Where's the bet? I get the 456 silent.
Yeah, it's bet? More like they took a chance. I don't know about the bet. Yeah, bad. Maybe I would have called it bad luck.
Right.
On a, what is it? 459.
456.
456 silent. That's I would have called it
459. You're right.
459 silent. That I would have said he had bad luck on it. I don't, the bet thing is sort of nebulous. Yeah. it sounds good.
Yeah, it does. It does. But now let me ask you this then. I mean, as we rate these on must, can, and pass, where does this fall for you?
Should.
Should?
It's a new one. It's between must and can. I'm going to give it a must.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
And because of things get personal for Britt Reed.
Yeah.
That Britt is wounded. He's in a bad spot. Kind of a clever way to get out of it. The Mike part of it, Mike Axford part of it is interesting. So I'm giving it for those reasons, despite any other sort of problems, I'm going to give it a should watch. You should watch this one.
I'm sticking with must.
It's just below must.
It's just below must. I'm sticking with must. I mean, honestly, it's a really good story. Yeah, there are flaws. There are things that bugged me, like Kato, but still, in the end, it's one of the better ones.
Yeah, and I won't say that this is a negative, but if they had more time, they could have done something more with the Doctor, played by Jason Wingreen.
Yes.
Because we don't ever hear, how did Britt get out of the hospital without anybody knowing it? And if they did know it, was the Doctor, did he have it out with Britt? Did Britt open up the wound again? It's kind of hard to believe with the climbing and getting punched and running and everything else that he does that he didn't rip open the stitches or whatever. But again, it's not a negative. They only had 30 minutes and or less to do this, and a little bit more with Casey too. I still feel bad for her that if it's the way I think it is that she was not let in on what's going on. Probably because she would have disagreed with the way they handled it, with Kato coming into the. Well, you know what? It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, you're right. I think she was in the newsroom, and she would have seen that it was Kato.
Yeah. Yeah,
there's a scene missing where she says, Britt, why is Kato shooting you? Never mind, Miss Case.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my resignation. She's got it on him, man. She could get a lot of money out of him.
Yeah, that's true.
Either you pay me off or I go public.
Yeah.
With your little nighttime activities. Yeah. All right. On that note, I think we better end this one.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Well, we've still got a few more episodes to go until we come to the conclusion of this podcast. And next time we see the Hornet getting involved in international affairs when he stops an assassination attempt on a prince. But now hang on. This all leads to the kidnapping of the prince's American fiancée. How does this all fit in with the Hornet's usual MO? Does it even? I mean, we'll talk about it next time.
All right, I'm excited.
Yeah. So until next time, folks, thank you so much for listening. Once again, Jim, everyone, take care.
Let's roll, Kato.
Thanks for listening, chums. I don't have a bat phone, but you can contact the Batcave Podcast through its Facebook page, Twitter, email at thebatcavepodcast@gmail.com. Subscribe to the podcast via libsyn.com. That's LIBSYN.com. Or through iTunes. The Batcave Podcast is part of a series of pop culture podcasts from the Chronic Rift Network. Find them at chronicrift.com. So until next time, citizens, same bat time, same Batcave Podcast.